of a sudden, there was this big bang on the side of the boat. There was just this huge flood of water immediately.
Steve has no idea what he's hit, but the boat's hull has been torn apart.
The water was rising very, very quickly.
Within seconds, the water is above his head.
I just thought, this boat is going to be underwater. I'm going right to the bottom.
Steve's boat is sinking. He knows he has seconds to get to the life raft up on deck.
So I yank on the line, and if the line keeps coming out, no, nothing. It just didn't work at all. Finally, boom, it pops open.
Steve makes it to safety. But just as he's about to cut himself loose, a terrifying thought hits him.
With the equipment that's in the raft, I will not last very long at all.
Everything he needs to have any chance of survival is stowed deep inside the flooded boat.
It was essential that I go back on the boat and dive down and get equipment. Even though I realized that the boat could slip under the waves at any moment.
Against every instinct, he knows he has no option but to dive back down into the sinking boat.
It was all dark in there, so I couldn't really see anything. I could feel the ditch kit. It was tied down, and I started cutting away.
Steve frees his emergency supply kit. But just as he makes it to the exit hatch,
The hatch slammed closed. The boat's covered with water. I'm going down. I thought that was it. If I don't get out of here right now, I am going to die. There's 100% certainty of that.
but just as Steve's lungs are about to burst, a huge wave breaks across the boat.
All of a sudden, there's air. It was a huge, huge relief.
With only seconds to spare, Steve escapes, clutching his vital emergency supplies.
I jumped into the raft and I saw that I was drifting away from the boat.
Steve can only watch as he drifts away from not just his boat, but also his dream.
I went drifting off into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It just was kind of devastating. That first night, it blew hard. Really cold and really wet and really scary. I was shivering a lot and I was worried about dying of hypothermia. I might not make it till the morning.
Below deck, Travis, Roger, and Steve Guy try to get some sleep before taking over for the night watch.
It wasn't my time to go on deck yet. I just decided, okay, I'll get up, I'll get something to eat, I'll go, shoot the breeze with the guys on deck and see what's up and start getting settled in. That's when it all started going downhill.
Finding water inside the cabin is not unusual, but Travis instinctively suspects something is badly wrong.
I opened up the floorboard, and it just came pouring in.
Roger! Roger! We got water! We're taking on water! Hey, Steve! Steve!
What's going on?
We're taking on water! Start the engine!
It's every sailor's worst nightmare. The boat's hull has a serious leak. Due to a previous incident, the keel, the huge balancing weight at the bottom of the boat, has cracked along its mount.
Joe, get ready to douse the sails.
Okay!
Skipper Steve knows that they're in terrible trouble, and they must drop the sails to slow down. But before the guys can get the sails down,
the keel of the vessel parted completely, came off, and the boat went instantly into the water.
The boat just laid over into the water, just completely horizontal.
All of a sudden, the lights go out. The engine shuts off.
What happened? I don't know!
up on deck, Skipper Steve is clinging to the capsized boat.
I was hanging underneath the boat because it wasn't still up out of the water at that point, thinking it was time to go.
The boat's going down! Everybody off! Unclip yourselves!
In just a matter of seconds, the boat has completely overturned. Steve and the two students on deck escape the sinking boat.
Come on, guys. Hey, did you see anybody? No.
But Roger, Travis, and Steve Guy are trapped inside. And seawater is flooding in.
I'm not dying in here!
Yeah, I screamed it, I'm not dying in here. This is not where I'm gonna die.
Unless they can find a way out of the cabin, they are just seconds from being dragged to the bottom of the ocean.
Emotion's telling you at that point, you're screwed. I mean, there is no way out of a situation like this.
The water level is rising rapidly. Unless they can get out, they're just seconds from being dragged down with the sinking boat.
How do we get out of here? Through the hatch!
Their only escape route is a tiny hatch, but a powerful wall of seawater is pouring through it.
Are you kidding? Come on, it's the only way!
I'm sitting there thinking to myself, how am I gonna swim through here? I don't even think an Olympic swimmer could actually get through this with all the water rushing through.
Let me try. Let me try. I can't do it! I can't do it!
We couldn't even hope to match the flow. I was hoping to grab the sides of it and force my way out, But the first time I tried that, it blew me right back.
Roger! Roger! Travis! Steve! Where can he be?
Steve Conway can do nothing but wait for the three men to emerge.
I didn't really know what was going on down below, but my biggest concern was that Roger, Steve Guy, and Travis weren't able to get out of the vessel and drown.
Gotta get out of here, man. What are we gonna do?
I was terrified beyond belief. I don't even want to see what my face looked like at that point.
Take a deep breath. Go for it. I'll push you through. It's your only chance.
As I was trying to go down the second time, Roger grabbed my legs and pushed.
Travis! Over here! Hey, Travis! Travis! What about Travis? Hey! Okay, I got you! All right. Okay. Did you see Steve?
Yeah, he's behind me! You're next. Go for it.
What about you?
I'll follow. Come on. Do it now.
Steve! 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 Come here!
If I made it out and collapsed there and died there, that would be a success, because they'd find me and follow the rope back to Mike. And so we'd both be found, both get off the mountain. And I watched the spit drool down a little bit, and the blood froze in place on the wall. And I realized that was actually kind of a marker, marking how far I'd progressed up the wall. It was a psychological game to prove to myself that even though it was painfully slow and horribly scary, that I was making progress.
After 65 feet and hours of hell, Jim's made it to the overhang. It's the only thing standing between him and the lip of the crevasse.
I knew I was close.
But to get past it and get out alive, he must risk everything.
Now I had a severe problem. I couldn't reach past the lip.
I can't do it, bro.
Just come over a little.
And I thought, I have to do it. I've got no choice.
Jim's only option is to try to haul himself over the edge of the overhang. If he makes one single mistake, he'll fall to his death.
I've made it. I've secured myself to the upper screw. And I took my ice axe off the lower screw so that I could hang onto it. I realized I had just made a huge error.
Jim has broken a climber's golden rule. He's attached himself to his chest instead of his waist.
the chest harness cinched down around my chest and squeezed the breath out of me. And some voice in my head was just screaming at me saying, "It's all over. You're gonna die hanging from this ice screw." I was gasping for breaths. I would get one occasionally when I would get one ice tool in the wall. I could get a little weight off and I would get 2 breaths, and then I would slip and slump back onto the sling and it would squeeze me tight again. I had to get off that ice screw.
Unless he can find one last surge of energy, Jim knows he has just seconds left to live.
And when I looked back down at our ledge, some 60 feet below me now, I realized that I was really out there on the extreme edge of what I thought climbing could even be.
Finally, having achieved what seemed impossible just a matter of hours ago, Jim knows he has only 20 feet to the top and escape.
But I was so utterly exhausted from everything I'd done, I questioned if I was going to be able to have the strength to make that final run to the surface.
But the last few minutes of daylight are disappearing fast. With temperatures inside the crevasse now dropping dramatically, Jim is desperate to end his ordeal as quickly as possible.
I thought, wow, if I can free climb, I can free climb 15 or 20 feet in just a minute. I'll be out of here in just 1 minute. And I started to get very energized by it, very attracted to the idea that with just 1 minute of energy, 1 minute of effort, I would be out. I heard Mike's voice just clear as a bell, and he was like, "Don't." He said, "You're not strong enough. You might slip, and if you slip and fall, it'll be all over. You can't take that risk."
He knows that Mike's words could be the difference between life and death. No matter how hard and time-consuming, Jim should carry on aid climbing.
I couldn't hold the ice axe up anymore. That 1 or 2 pound ice axe became too much for me to bear. And I was truly getting down to the end of my energies.
After more than 5 hours and 80 grueling feet, Jim reaches the surface. But unless he can get a firm grip on the treacherously thin snow, he could easily slide back into the crevasse.
I can't believe at the very last second I'm going to fall backwards, all the way back down to where I came from. I can't believe it's going to end like this. And this emotional voice in my mind was like screaming, "Do something." And this voice was pretty confident, said, "Just lunge."
Signs were ominous from the beginning. The water, just empty cachaça bottles. Cachaça is a sort of cheap rum. There was a sense that there were outsiders in the forest. I'd been warned that these were bank robbers, thieves, people accused of murder. They'd all headed off into the forest because here was a chance of making a quick buck.
Despite Benedict's trepidation, they must find a place to camp, as night is falling.
We went off through the trees. And suddenly we stumbled across this small settlement. But whereas I was worried, my two Indian guides were absolutely entranced. I remember one of the Indian guides picking up a can opener and wondering what that was. Suddenly, this character, Mendez, arrived. He was the classic gold miner. And I just felt I've got to get out of here.
¿Qué estás haciendo aquí, entonces?
Estamos buscando El Dorado.
¿El Dorado?
Estamos viajando al sur por la boca del Amazon.
No, mi amigo. Si viajas para allá, muy peligroso. Los rápidos están bloqueados, pero puede ayudarte.
Mendez said to me, look, I'll be your guide. I'll take you down the river towards El Dorado. Furthermore, I know a track. You'll be able to walk from the river to the outside world.
¿Está bien? Divertimos.
And I thought, well, maybe I've misjudged this gold miner. Maybe he isn't that bad. But I thought I should go along with this plan. I'll be heading in the right direction at least.
Bien.
Benedict reluctantly agrees to the offer and settles down for the night. But as the night wears on, he has a growing sense that all is not what it seems.
That night, I woke up in my hammock feeling that something was wrong. Just an uneasy feeling, and I remember thinking, I've got to check on things. So I put on my boots, potted down to the river to see if my canoe was still there, see if my supplies were there. I think effectively I was making sure that my exit was okay. And I heard this conversation going on between Eduardo and Mendez, and they were discussing me. They were saying, why don't we go and slit his throat right now?
Porque no rajamos la garganta ahora.
Los indios que tendrán problemas si lo matamos.
No. A ellos le dan igual.
I had a rising sense of fear, and adrenaline began thumping in my ears.
Venga, lo hacemos ahora.
¿Quién va a ser?
No lo haré cuando está durmiendo.
And I realized I'm just going to be killed. These are my last moments alive. I just thought, go, I have to run, get out of here. Gathered my hammer together, my mosquito net, ran to the canoe. And suddenly, I was in the darkness in my canoe with my dog.
And with his loyal friend Cashew, Benedict makes it away from danger.
My first thought was relief. Then I had this terrible, dawning realization that I wasn't safe at all. I was surrounded by forest. It was the middle of the night, and I was very, very alone.
Without his guides, Benedict is now stranded in over 2 million square miles of rainforest, with no one to show him the route out.
I really was not at the end of a nightmare, but at the beginning of one.
Cashew. Let's get out of here, boy.
I paddled upriver for maybe an hour, and I thought, I'll just calm down, I'll just pull into the side. Made a little camp and thought, I've got to come to terms with this new situation. And the situation was, my childhood dreams were over. And I felt, I've got to get out of here, got to get out of here. And there was blood pounding through my head. I did not know what was out there in the forest. And I didn't know myself, really. I didn't know whether I had it in me to survive.
What starts as a scramble quickly turns into a serious climb. And as they get higher, novice climber Sonia starts getting nervous.
There were points where you didn't have proper handholds. It was quite a surreal experience because it was a mix between adrenaline and being scared and adrenaline and being scared again.
Kick away the loose stuff and jam your toe into that bit.
To find a way around the ice, the women have to climb higher and higher. Marnie has underestimated the severity of the ascent and overestimated her friend's climbing ability.
Marnie, this is just crazy.
Sonia was beginning to get scared of the train, and with very good reason.
When I looked down, it was an incredibly long fall. It was just pure sharp rock. So if you did slip, then you were going to break some bones. That did set in panic for me. I froze on the side of the mountain.
It was a very big mistake on my part, taking Sonia into that terrain. Your survival depends on you being careful about what you're doing, and if you panic, you're not being careful.
Marnie needs to calm Sonia down, fast.
Just relax and take some breaths, okay?
It was terrifying. If you fell, you would fall down hundreds of feet and die. You couldn't afford to fall.
Marnie, I can't do this. This is too hard. I'm gonna go back down.
Sonia? Sonia, you can't go back down. It's too dangerous.
I was quite certain then it was better for us to keep carrying on going uphill, because climbing up is a lot easier than going down. It's a lot safer.
We've got to keep going up, okay? Don't look down. Keep calm. Try and find a foothold.
Against her every instinct, Sonia presses on. After 4 hours of climbing, they're nearly 200 meters up a near vertical cliff face. At last, the summit is within reach. But now, they hit another problem. The rock above them is dangerously unstable.
It's a case of what looks like solid rock falling apart. And if you're relying on that to hold some of your weight, well, that's a disaster.
I put my foot on the rock and it fell from underneath my foot.
Marnie, it's just crumbling.
I couldn't hold on to the rock much longer. It was very scary.
What do I do?
Shift your weight!
I was clinging on, trying to scramble my other foot or wedge it into the rock just to get one solid foothold. I knew if I were to fall further, it would be disastrous.
Help me!
Sonia, look at me.
Experienced climber Marnie has managed to scramble down.
Okay.
Now she has to calm Sonia and guide her back to safety.
Now get that leg and swing it round. I've got you, Sonia. I've got you.
Ready?
Yep.
Go. The wall.
Yes.
I can't do this anymore. I can't go on any further.
Sonia's safe, but the shock of the fall has drained her strength and her confidence.
We've got to keep moving.
I really needed to stop because mentally and physically I couldn't last much longer.
Come around and up. Put your hands where I put mine.
Pushing on, the women face a dilemma. The terrain above is even steeper, yet going back down is out of the question.
The rock quality was really poor. The rock you're standing on and the rock you're holding, all of it could just crumble.
Marnie realizes she can't push Sonia any further.
I want to stop. I can't go on.
She needs to find a spot where they can take a break.
I think I see something.
There was a very small, flat patch, and it was the only safe place on that entire, cliff section.